What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 89 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV. He's Fishstix. He's EP. We're just finishing watching some Overwatch League. Welcome, everybody. So how you guys doing?
Dude, just in case you're still wanting more Overwatch after watching for 4 to 5 or 6 hours consecutively, we are here for you. Right. I know that there's some hardcore motherfuckers that are just like, yes, more Overwatch esports. Yes.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And if they're not hardcore people, as Ben has noted, sometimes a Twitch website can be difficult to navigate, and they think that there's still OWL going on. They click on our stream and go, oh, and then they realize it's on OWL, but they stay anyways because Fishstix is wearing the hat.
Can I
the branding.
Can I co-stream their VODs at all, or is that allowed?
I don't think so, but you know.
Okay.
When you get asked, just say that you got permission from Ben Fishstix.
Fishstix. Yeah,
it's official.
I still don't think that that makes the cut there. No, but yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I know it's a late show tonight, but you know, I know everybody wants to watch the actual Overwatch League matches before watching some three guys talk about it. So I figured it would be best to wait until after the matches. So that's kind of why we're doing that this time. But we've had another awesome day of Overwatch League, and we're going to talk a ton about the Overwatch League, guys, for sure. But there's also some a little bit of news that, you know, we haven't done the show in a long time. This is the first one we're doing this year. So we've got some Mercy patches that we haven't even gotten a chance to talk about. And then we'll probably just jump right into Overwatch League right after that. So, yeah, why don't we just go into the Mercy nerfs, man? Whew. So these
significant.
Yeah, significant is like an understatement. They basically just decided...
Praise the Lord. Let's not undersell this. Yes, this is phenomenal. I feast on the tears of people complaining over the Mercy nerfs. It was very much needed.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, definitely a Mercy nerf was definitely needed. But they just literally gutted her. I mean, they took everything that was good about Mercy, like, you know, OP, whatever, just good about Mercy, and they just like, okay, we're just going to take something away for each one of these things because, you know, it's just, we basically just don't want people to play her anymore. It kind of feels like that. So, all right, let's take a look at this. So this is currently on PTR. It's not out, obviously, in production yet, but Junkrat's first. Might as well talk about the Junkrat change. Because the Junkrat change is actually... somewhat significant too. The concussion mine will now deal less damage to targets that are further away from the actual explosion. You guys like this? Seems right to me, right? Like it's I don't know why it was so strong anyways to begin with.
I am a simple man, and if there's a patch or an update to Overwatch that adds a higher level of skill, like higher skill ceiling, I'm going to be for it almost 100% of the time, and that's exactly what we have here, right?
Yep.
Right, TP.
Right. I think you had to take something away from Junkrat. I still think that what I would have taken away, just because I think it affects both high level and particularly hits like mid-level play pretty hard, is that if I had the nerf Junkrat, I might have hit the tire first because of how much value it generally gets. But something had to be removed. I think with what they changed here, though, it's going to be very interesting because obviously it's a nerf to Junkrat as a whole, but you know, this is very fresh in my mind from just watching it a little bit ago, but I feel like that's going to hurt the Outlaws a bit, where Jake was getting more mileage than most other Junkrats from long-range concussion mines. Even tonight, there were several big moments where he just got, you know, sniped from across the field, and that's not going to happen anymore as early as next week. So that's going to be interesting to see how Outlaws sort of adapts around that. But overall, good change to Junkrat, good changes to Mercy. I will note, though, that Mercy has effectively been the Highlander. Every time you think she's dead, she's still alive. But even if she's still alive after this, in cases like working with Pharah and otherwise, it still should be less oppressive than it is now.
All right, speaking of Mercy, it's... actually, Fishstix or Ben, do you have any comments on the...
Yeah, I mean, I already said my piece. I'm for this change.
Yeah.
Just as a player of Overwatch, especially, you know, I especially just have flashbacks to... For instance, let's say Control Center on Lijiang Tower. Junkrats get their ults like instantaneously just because they're outputting such a sick amount of damage. And it's, of course, a lot due to his primary fire, but it's also equally so due to that beastly mine, that beastly shift. So very glad to see this nerfed. You're going to see less tires because of it. You're going to see less BS kills. I mean, the mine is basically like a one-shot kill against 200 HP characters if you're able to also connect with the left click. So now that at least is going to be much more rare. You're going to have to actually be very on point to get those one-shot kills, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can move on to Mercy now.
Yeah, totally agreed. All right, Mercy, here we go. So Valkyrie, just basically everything about Valkyrie basically took a nerf here. So we got no longer makes resurrect instant. So you actually
That's the biggest part, by the way.
Yeah, you have to go and sit there and do the resurrection. And I mean,
I can't believe you have to be vulnerable to bring someone back from the dead.
Dude,
My word.
Remember yesterday the drive-by resurrection on that one?
No, I'm
my
trying to
God, that was
suppress this out of my
hilarious.
memory because it's going to be gone soon. Like, we're going to be gone from that era. The healing can begin.
Oh my God, it was so funny yesterday with just during the broadcast. The cam's like looking up at that Mercy flying by, and then all of a sudden it like resurrects like the guy that was sitting right next to him. It was so funny. Anyway, okay, so the next one is no longer grants a bonus charge of resurrect, so you don't get an extra one anymore. And then the speed boost to Guardian Angel receives a decrease of 50%, which is a lot. And then the duration is reduced by a quarter too. So I mean, I guess they just didn't want to change Valkyrie. They just basically decided to just completely make it, just for lack of a better words, what made it cool in the first place was just how powerful it was. Now it's just not that powerful. So it's just kind of like, what do you want?
It's more powerful for the fact that Mercy is going to still be able to float above the fight, still be able to chain heal or chain damage boost her entire team. It's more of like a traditional support ult, which is just going to be, it's like a sustained weaker transcendence to an extent. I mean, it's still going to be almost impossible to kill Valking Mercies if they're high enough in the sky, but the resurrection aspect is just completely nerfed to the ground. I mean, you don't get the extra res. You have to spend 1.75 seconds, which is actually an eternity, resing in the middle of a team fight. You're just not going to be able to do it in situations.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to know about resurrection is that resurrection is an incredibly powerful ability on face value. You remove a pickoff, which of course is sort of the holy grail of a team fight to get first pickoff and so on. If you want to use a res now, what it means is that you have to invest tank resources to make that happen, where your Winston, instead of saying using the bubble more offensively, needs to drop back and drop a bubble. Your Diva has to use Matrix, whatever it may be. The easiest way to get a resurrection off now is going to be in cooperation with your tanks, which is probably how it always should have been, rather than Mercy just being this free resurrection machine where you can't really stop her going for resurrects, particularly when she was in Valkyrie, of course. So
I mean,
for me, I think this is fine. You're forcing a team to go, if you want to bring someone back up from the dead, you're actually going to have to make it be more of a team effort.
So sure, that's fine. And that's kind of what resurrect is now if you just minus Valkyrie, period, right? But the thing is like Valkyrie just doesn't feel, your point with that, Ben, like that feels kind of like Transcendence. I mean, it's not though. Transcendence, you can't kill him whenever he's transcending. If Valkyrie, sure, she can like float it across the top, but dude, the pros can just shoot her down. Like that's not an issue for pro players, just if she's floating in the air. So I just don't feel like it's kind of crazy because this doesn't feel as much like an ult anymore. And before it was way too powerful. So it's like, I think they just went too far the opposite direction here.
I would actually disagree. If you think about the net output of her healing and damage boost, is it really all that dissimilar from a Coalescence from Moira, or even the effect of a nano boost on the fight, where she's still going to be far more difficult to kill when the ultimate is in progress? The healing chain is still going to have a very big effect on things. Damage boost can have a very big effect on things. It feels like it's more in line with Coalescence and nano boost, and we're almost getting to the point argument wise where maybe Sound Barrier and Transcendence should be looked at a little bit to bring them in line, because Overwatch in general has had like really strong support ultimates forever. And the trend has been, when new support heroes come out now, to release things that are slightly less overpowering. And now Valkyrie is going to a more reasonable state. Maybe now we have the argument to bring Transcendence in line and bring Barrier in line.
It could totally be a relative thing right now. And so that's a good point. Like if those two were much weaker, then these Valkyrie changes wouldn't feel so bad. So no question that Mercy is going to be will definitely be out of the meta for at least a short period of time until people decide to try her again. We always go through that knee-jerk phase, right? Whenever big changes happen. So it's going to be interesting to see even what the lineups in OWL is going to look like, because I can
Yeah, I
say
mean, this is
Jayhong's
gonna have
like,
a
yeah,
huge
baby.
impact.
Like,
This is going to have an incredible impact. If you look at what we've seen over the last 2 days of Overwatch League matches, I think there was like, just today we saw NYXL on Horizon Lunar Colony playing with like Sombra, Lucio, Moira, and No Mercy, but that's like literally the only time in 2 full days of Overwatch matches that we haven't seen Mercy played. And by the way, they lost that match too. So this is an incredibly impactful play. It's going to impact everything from the bottom tier right on up into Overwatch League. That said, I suspect that Mercy will still be a pick with Pharah. I mean, go back to the pre-Valk days. Mercy was a strong pick with Pharah and not a strong pick in many other situations. I think at very least you're still going to see that be a potential pick.
Look, ChanManV, let me put it to you this way. This is an inside, completely unverified source, but if you think about it, it totally makes sense. Rumor has it that Rouge Hong, 4 hours after reading the patch notes, had to go to a hospital. So, yeah, I think they're pretty excited over this.
Oh my god, like they weren't good enough already. Holy smokes, it's gonna be crazy to see Anna back in the meta if she is going to be.
Yeah, actually, even if Mercy is like way too nerfed, I'm just excited because it means like, are we going to see a lot more Moira, or is it going to be like Lucio Zen all day, or is Anna going to make her presence known finally this season of OWL? So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Please bring back Inksty Grandma. Let's go.
Inksty Grandma. All right, well, let's get all like just the just the more sadder news out of the way before we actually get on to all the goodness. So another bit of news is that OGN Apex officially ended. So they kind of made the announcement that it's no longer going to be just around anymore. So really, really sad. Obviously, an end of an era, an end to just a series or a tournament series that has been a large part of Overwatch esports from the get-go. So figured we would spend some time thinking about just talking about it, really maybe just reliving some of the awesome moments about Apex. But the overall gist of it is it's so sad. It's just sad to see that this will have no part in the Overwatch League. Just what culminates to be like the esport just end game for Overwatch, and something that was such a big part of starting it is not going to be part of it. So what are y'all's thoughts on OGN leaving? Or just Apex just going away, and OGN actually just not doing Overwatch anymore, right?
Yeah, it's not even just that Apex in particular, that tournament is over, but even Overwatch Contenders in Korea isn't going to be run by OGN either.
Crazy.
Which was kind of a surprise to me, but also knowing the way that business is done, particularly in esports in Korea, I can see why like Overwatch League, Blizzard's just like, okay, we're going to try something totally new, totally different, go with a different provider. Obviously, it's sad. I mean, the production value is insane for OGN. It always has been. It always was. The augmented reality stuff that you had in the stream itself was so great. So it's a little sad. It's the end of an era, but at least we could say Overwatch is in a very good spot right now with Overwatch League, and Contenders is going to carry the tier 2 scene behind that as well. So it's sad. We can get a little nostalgic, but plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, and I would say here, I mean, when I see Apex ending, the most I'd say is that, look, we've been in a changing of the guard situation Overwatch for a while in terms of older mainstay tournaments getting cycled out for sort of the new set of programs, but there's no reason to believe that Contenders Korea won't also provide high-level competition in that region. The main thing I'm hoping for is that the casting talent that has provided great games from the OGN crew is maintained going from OGN to NBC, and I'm pretty hopeful that will be the case because those guys have done a great job. And as long as they land on their feet with all this, change is change. OGN obviously did a phenomenal job over the years when it was doing Overwatch related content, and hopefully NBC will be able to sort of take on the torch and do well in that same tradition.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, NBC is like a well-known TV channel out there in Korea, so I think they're going to be fine. I think the production value is going to be fine.
It is weird when I say NBC. I'm just like, am I just accidentally not saying NBC? Am I thinking of the network with the peacock?
I think it's NBC. Yeah, I think that's right.
This is how my Western brain works right now. But hey,
and if you're wrong, I can
Or
blame
almost
you.
beating NHL numbers at times. So take that, NBC.
Yeah,
Aha.
that's true. That's true. Okay, well, actually, I never even changed the topic there. That's not good. So next bit of news we have are the skins finally came out, and that was obviously came out before the actual league started. So we're a little bit, obviously late in talking about this compared to what's going on right now. But the skins come out, and not only with the skin, we can kind of talk about just the fact that there is an Overwatch League main menu option that's in the game. So that's where we go. So those of you that might not know, haven't been in the game for whatever reason, or just like started the game since OWL started this week, you can go in there. There's an Overwatch League a menu option. You click in it, and right now you'll see like the games and just the current results, and you can actually click the button and actually pull up the stream. But also there's where you buy the actual skins. And right now there's home and aways or away. Is it just the away skins? I believe the colored.
It's the color skins.
Yeah, the
you
colored
can't
skins.
get
skins,
the white skins.
Yeah, so all the away skins for all the teams and all the different heroes. So if you're one of those people trying to get every single skin, well, that just got a lot harder for you because you need 100 of these OWL tokens to purchase a skin, and the OWL tokens have their own type of increments that you can buy, and I'm sure that we're going to be able to earn these tokens somehow watching OWL or something like that in the near future. But yeah, it's gotten a lot harder for you.
It's really great that DeFran can show support for McDonald's now by buying all the Florida Mayhem skins.
Dude, I bought the McDonald's Reinhardt. I admit it. I that yellow, I just couldn't resist the yellow. It was Florida
Chris,
too.
Chris, hold on. I heard that you get the skin by typing ! Token in chat.
No, it's ! Rewards. Would you please stop
No.
misleading the viewers?
You guys are giving me a headache with this shit.
You guys, it was so funny watching just the effect. The moment somebody would type something, then all of a sudden, like 10,000 people would type it. It was so awesome.
What do you have to think about it this way? What do you have to lose?
Yeah,
you're probably not going to get anything, but what if there's something to get? It costs you nothing to type ! Tokens.
Dude,
Think about
I
it.
should have totally made a bot that actually said, "Oh, you just received 100 tokens in Overwatch." Or
Enough people were doing that for you, Chris.
Yes,
it's okay.
yes, that's true. But anyways, yeah. So the skins are there. Go and check them out. There's a lot of amazing skins. I think my son went nuts over the Soul Dynasty ones because I think the Genji swords are gold. So on top of having the golden sword, I mean, if you don't have the golden sword, they actually have this gold tinted sword and shurikens too. So definitely cool ones over there. But check those out. All right, let's just get into the league. Let's just talk about just the Overwatch League and everything about it. First off, we kind of kicked off with I think it was an interview with Kevin, right? And basically he announced, or they talked about the 2-year deal with Twitch. Obviously Ben knew about this forever now, but couldn't confirm or say anything about it. Not a big surprise. We all knew it was going to be on Twitch, at least opening just season 1. But I guess it's clear that season 2 will be on Twitch too. So that's really maybe the big news. It won't be renegotiated after season 1. Anything to really talk about here? I mean, is it going to be shown anywhere else? I guess maybe that's the question, right? Is Twitch the only place?
I do believe in the press release that is what they had there. I think there's a slight loophole where you can get it on OverwatchLeague.com, which might be using the MLG player to do it, but it's not actually on MLG.
It's great. It's like the prime example of hilariously accurate but misleading PR speak. It's like
Of course.
the worldwide exclusive
Of
partner
course.
for third-party streaming. So yes, it's still on MLG. Because technically MLG is first party.
Oh, is it? It's actually on. Okay, well,
It's on MLG as well, yes, but Twitch is the exclusive.
Only on MLG, that right? Okay.
But so let's spice up the story a little bit because now it's at the point where it's like, okay, it's on Twitch. Everyone knows about it. We've already seen 2 great days on Twitch, so it's not exciting. Ben, rumor has it that you fought Bart from YouTube in a deathmatch to secure Overwatch for your company.
Oh man,
This is true.
This is good. This is good stuff.
Did you fight Bart?
We got greased up and had a good old style Roman wrestling match.
Was Jeff watching or what? I mean,
Jeff was commentating it. You missed that? It was hype.
He's coaching obviously the Twitch side of
how
things.
do you think Ben got on West Coast Wrestlers?
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, I think we're all happy that it's on Twitch. I mean, we can finally see the numbers now too. It's like amazing. And the numbers were amazing, which we should probably talk about. I mean, the main channel itself, it got, what was the I'm going to ask you just, Ben, because you know exact numbers. What was the peak that it got to yesterday?
Shit. Now I need to go look it up.
What?
It was like
I figured you would have this like ingrained in your head right now.
I should. It was like 447,000 or something like that.
Wow.
And let's just remind here that Ben publicly admitted that he was wrong.
Yeah.
I was so wrong.
All right, what were you predicting? Wrong. What are you predicting?
I don't even want to say. I'm embarrassed.
Oh my god.
I put Ben at 120,000.
Yeah, it's 120, 150,000, something like that.
We're playing prices right now, Ben. 120,000.
120,000.
160,000. Which,
damn it! Why did you do 120,000 once?
Even I was thinking 200,000. So wow, 160,000. Man, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. So I'm just about the most optimistic person in the world. In fact, this is a meme that will follow me to my death, I'm pretty sure. It's just like I tried to like make every unique arena FPS successful single-handedly over the last decade or so.
Confirm. I've known Ben for a long time. I can confirm.
So I killed Tribes. I killed Dirty Bomb. I killed Quake Wars. I killed all kinds of games. But obviously, Overwatch is a different beast. I was very optimistic, but these numbers blew even our highest expectations out of the water. I mean, 450,000 plus viewers. Now, I know that there's so much marketing going into this. I know
crazy amounts, which we'll talk about in a second.
For over 14, 15 months since October of 2016. I know all these things, but in my mind, I thought there's no way it was going to eclipse what we saw for the Overwatch World Cup at BlizzCon, because it's BlizzCon and it's the World Cup. It's like the hypest shit ever. Yet here we go on day one. It not only exceeds the World Cup's peak, and I'm talking peak at the very end, but it exceeds it by a margin of basically almost 100%. I mean, this is insane. I was not expecting this. I wonder if Blizzard was expecting us. I don't know if they were, but one thing I will say is up in the skybox yesterday at opening night, everyone was ecstatic. I mean, people were walking around with stupid grins on their face, just like, oh my God, like everyone was just so happy. It was ridiculous.
I mean, was it the numbers, the free alcohol, a mix of both? I'm going with a mix of both.
I mean, yeah, I'm like, dude, I was just like hanging out in the skybox. I'm like, hey, look, it's Chris Bosch. Like, cool.
Chris Bosch is there, really?
Yeah, he was free box here. So at events, when you have the free box, VIPs, etc., there's two types. There's one where they come up to you and go, we can only offer you beer and wine. And then there's the other one where they have a full bar and they're going all out. Was there a full bar?
Of course.
Yes.
It's opening night. There's probably champagne.
I'm just saying, there's been
too,
times for no particular reason you go up there. It's like, I'm just gonna go up there and get a good cocktail. We could give you Corona. It's like,
hey, actually, I'm gonna call out. We have I Never Die Alone in chat who's saying he or she watched on the MLG player. So I say that we had 450,000 on Twitch. That's not including MLG, which surely had numbers. I mean, that was the default embed on OverwatchLeague.com, and that's also not including China. So cumulatively,
so there's 4 million more than you're telling. Is what you're saying?
4 million more.
It's actually 7.32 billion more.
Billion
repeating.
I mean, yeah,
awesome. 4 million people saw Shanghai lose. Okay, cool.
But yeah, I mean, so like, I mean, we can just talk about how excited we are about the numbers forever. I think the really interesting thing for me as a marketing person is to look at this as kind of just like a prime example of what a major corporation can do when they're firing on all cylinders. I mean, we're talking, you got a lot of levers here. You have email, you have social media, you're able to target all the players of Overwatch. You're doing that in the Battle.net player. You're targeting Hearthstone players, your StarCraft, whatever, Heroes of the Storm, in the player as well. You've got ads running on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. You've got physical
TV.
advertisements running in
Yeah.
New York Times, not New York Times, Times Square in New York. You got physical billboards going up in every city. Not to mention the fact that you have 12 teams with 12 social media gurus and 12 video editors all like hyping this up.
Okay.
This is just
Let me just say one
this
thing.
is a marketer's
Without
wet
naming
dream.
the teams, Guru might be too strong of a title for
Yes,
some of the
yeah.
teams.
Very
Okay,
true.
okay, let's take a look at least a couple of those things you mentioned, which was, the classic in-game client, and what it looks like in the game. So first off, which isn't shown here. Actually, Zach had this post that had all the pictures, so that's why I'm showing it right now. But what's not shown here is that the actual Battle.net client had the stream running so you could actually watch just a small version of it right from the Battle.net client itself, and you click on it, and obviously it takes you to the stream. But when you go into the game, and this is the whole menu option I was talking about. Overwatch, and has the whole live thing there, so even that red live just makes you want to click on it, right? And then you click on it, this is all the free tokens thing, which you saw, and then this was what was interesting. Okay, so if you clicked on Overwatch, and normally you'd go click the play button from here. If you clicked on Overwatch on the Battle.net client, there was this giant overlay that you had to click the X button to close to start the freaking game, or else it would take you straight to the stream. So I was just like, oh man, this is so aggressive. I was like, yeah, Blizzard, that's the way to do it, right?
And
so,
it worked. And this,
it totally worked.
Well, this is where it leads
totally
into your next point, which is that you take it. I think if you need evidence that the viewership was very real, and you can't just go, oh, it's just a launcher thing, etc. This is sort of the holy grail, because it's been torturing me, Ben, any personality seen for ages, is that we got competitive Overwatch on our Overwatch, not just competitive.
Yeah, I got a picture of that too.
Holy
man.
shit!
Where's that?
That is.
Here we go.
That has not happened, and it happened.
The promised day has finally come.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. Let me look at this. This is top. Right, this is the top of our Overwatch, which was we've got like a bunch of Overwatch threads, and that's not even including what was on there yesterday, which I think half of our Overwatch was Overwatch League stuff. So we finally made it. We made this prediction a long time ago that this was going to happen, and so now actually seeing it, I think a lot of other people will be like, okay, yes, the actual esport aspect of Overwatch will finally have some presence in the general Overwatch community.
There has never been a darker day for people who get 4 kills with a D.Va self-destruct in their quick play game. Like, dude, you are just not going to get the same amount of upvotes if this keeps up, and it couldn't be a more glorious day.
Yep, totally. Yeah, so promotion was just on all cylinders. I mean, I know that we all kind of know that that team was working super hard since vacation, since holiday vacation. So I'm sure those folks were some of the people smiling, having a good time last night. But that was just day one, like even Nate said, right? This is just the beginning of, just the beginning of this journey, right? And, this is day 2 that just happened. So we kind of got to look at numbers even on day 2. Of course, day 1 is going to be super hype. Everybody's going to want to check out what's going on with Overwatch League and just even that kind of crazy, promotion, like we said. But day 2 is also pretty telling, so today, what was the peak today? Because I saw the stream at like 250, but I wasn't sure like what the actual overall peak was.
I think it was between 250 and like 265, maybe.
Yeah, roughly.
I wasn't like eyeing the stream numbers all the time. I mean, it's not my job to do so, unlike some people here. So
yeah, it was roughly about 2/3 the size of opening day, which is a very substantial drop, but not something that not really unexpected. I mean, all of the hype. Literally over a year of buildup was yesterday, and then today rolls around. Also, we didn't have Dallas versus Seoul, which is like the
my god
matchup.
Yeah, that's like having US versus Korea basically on the first day. So yeah, we would get I got like a couple tweets where it's like, oh man, that's such a drop off on day 2. I mean, that's kind of worrying. And I'm like, are you serious? It's like it's 250K, guys. Are we just seriously worried about 250K? Seriously? So yeah, we're going to have a drop off. We're going to have a drop off over time too, whenever we're doing this every single week. But you know what? If we could average like 100,000 like every single week, that's great. That's freaking awesome. So
yeah,
having big events like opening weekend and just the championship, whatever the playoffs and then into the actual finals, we get numbers like this, then That's amazing. So
And
better to start high like this to not to start low, guys. So
yeah,
like, I mean,
I would also call it the fact that the rewards for watching the streams haven't kicked in yet.
what?
So
Are you serious?
imagine
I thought all
imagine
the rewards
No,
exclamation
that's
commands
why
point.
and
people are doing exclamation point
tokens
tokens.
can't.
They wanted rewards and they weren't getting them.
Maybe it doesn't matter because people thought that they were getting rewards and they weren't.
Dude, that's
But
meta
once
promotion
those
right
kick
there.
in, that should be good. Also, it's Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday. I mean,
Yep.
we're gonna actually get to see what happens when it's full on weekend mode
Mhm.
in a minute here.
Ben,
That's
I thought
true.
you were gonna say just break into song there. Like that was
Thursday,
the-
Oh,
Friday,
song
Friday.
you
happy
bring
days or
Oh
something like
God,
that. Yeah.
damn it.
No,
DP,
you've
Batman.
actually blocked it from your mind, Chris. It's fine.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. So I guess what should we talk about? Well, Ben, you were at the arena, right? Like, what was the arena like on day one outside of just obviously the VIP suite, seeing hanging out with Chris Bosch and stuff like that?
You know, I think the arena had a very similar feel to the stream itself. It was just extremely polished. I mean, you see that huge. I think they said it was like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but I think they said it was like 6 4K projectors building that whole screen and that the LED wall. It looks and feels just incredibly solid. The fact that they were able to pull this level of polish off on day one is really impressive. Like this, you just walk in and just huge screens are up there with like great creative of all the players and all the teams and like highlights from the matches.
Yeah.
And then all of the merch is just perfectly lined up for you. Everything's well lit. You know, just the crowd was hype. Everything was just polished. Like I don't know what else to say about it other than it just felt like a really solid sports experience. And I've been to a lot of esports events, and the production value they've got going on that stage compares with some of the biggest events I've been to. It was
So, question: were they selling concessions? Did you see anyone
Yes.
like walking around
Popcorn
with
and hot dogs. and
there's
stuff.
like nachos and terrible shit like that. Yes.
Terrible shit.
Can you rephrase? That is not terrible.
I'm not a fan of nacho cheese. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Doesn't Jenica like nacho? I could have sworn she wanted to get some when we were in World Cup. So
Yeah. That happened.
okay. Well, how is like it's hard to tell actually, just from watching at home. But is it hype in the arena? Like, do they try to hype up the arena like with in-game announcers and stuff like that, or no?
No, there isn't really a hype man.
Okay.
You go back to World Cup and they have guys with t-shirt cannons and they're like
Yeah,
getting
dude.
specific parts of the crowd hype.
Yeah.
That actually wasn't even really a thing. It was pretty much all organic from what I could tell. That
Okay.
said, I wasn't in the crowd that much. I split my time equally between like the social media cave with no windows and just like a small monitor and like the box, the sky box with like Chris Bosch. So I was oscillating between those two.
It's like, Chris, you want to do some tweets for me on a Twitch account? That'd be pretty funny. All right. Well, let's see. Production wise, I think that we've definitely seen some polish from preseason. Definitely in a lot of the transitions. There's some additional, screens that we see now, of the players before the matches, and I mean, just a lot of those little things that probably most people don't even notice. But it looks really good. I mean, those things I think really added to the fact that they've done a lot of work to this, to make it actually look top notch for everybody on day one. So replays, they have that kind of like string of replays after each series that I think a lot of people really enjoy just watching between matches.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really smart of them. Didn't see the whole replay where you follow the arrows, or the shots, that they did in preseason a few times. You know what I'm talking about? Like the snipe kind of follow shots kind of thing. So I don't know if they're planning that they just remove that altogether, or maybe
My guess would be, and this is not going off any official information, so I'm free to speculate, but
Okay, yeah, of
I would
course.
say for that sort of stuff is that I would assume that they're really just focused on making sure the basics are being done right first, and then you layer that stuff in after when everything before is being done well, because
Sure.
that's sort of getting into sort of the razzle dazzle part of spectating, but there's not a real point to putting that in if you're getting other parts on the replay side of things like screwed up. So
Yeah.
I would expect that sort of thing to come back in as confidence grows in the stability and watchability of what they have currently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right, ZP. They're going to be building on the foundation here, and clearly they have the technology to do things like what you're explaining, Chris. And if they can, they will. They're going to layer it on
Yeah.
over time.
I think in
I hope
preseason they were just literally trying out every single tool they had available to them, so they just kind of threw it up every once in a while just to check it out. But I loved it, man. Whenever they did use it, it was shit. It was really really awesome. But overall, I think the replays I think are better. There's still sometimes where the replays are just a little bit long, I would say, but overall, I feel like it's very crystal clear when it's a replay, and usually it's effective as to what it's trying to show. Other production observing. I mean, I still think there's some issues, but I think Ben, you were mentioning to me there's some restrictions right now in terms of observing. So, kind of hopeful that we will get a little bit more free cam in the future. But mini map, we saw a lot of mini map yesterday, which was great, and then we didn't see much today. So I'm not sure if there was a conscious decision in that or not, but I think that might fall in the same bucket as what you were talking about, ZP, which is like, okay, they're still trying to get the basics down. Once they get the basics down, they'll work in the mini map a little bit more. But I saw a lot lot of mini map. There are a lot of people that like it. So it's not just us, it's
Well,
it's
it's
a lot of
particularly
folks,
good
yeah.
when you have cases like what I would point to tonight. There was a great example when you're watching Florida Mayhem on Temple of Anubis.
Mhm.
It's not always clear where people flanking are. A caster can generally catch it, but you have to really be looking. But you
Yeah.
throw the mini map, you can clearly see, okay, Logix is on the right flank. The rest of the team is setting up on the left. And it becomes very easy to sort of follow the progression there of, okay, they're all coming in from the left side as Logix is coming in on the right. And now they're both going to engage in such a way as to try and push the supports into a corner and make this dive work. And the mini map for giving setups of where teams are is actually really good for that.
Mhm.
I feel like because of its view, you can't use it all the time. Like you have to use free cam for that purpose,
Sure.
perhaps more. But using that every few runs, or particularly before a bigger run, right? Where one team, where it's one team with ults, but say both teams have like 3-4 ults, getting that overview shot as sort of extra positioning knowledge to give you an idea is okay, rear people position before what is going to be with all certainty a decisive fight in the course of this match. I think that's really helpful, not only for the audience, but also for people watching it for analysis purposes or
Sure.
otherwise and trying to go, well, what was the real story here? I think the overhead map is nothing but useful. And my hope is that eventually you get to a point with perhaps in-game spectating, etc., that you could always view the overhead map and, just maximize the amount of data you have as a viewer.
Yeah.
thought. My head's just going. Maybe I should ask if we can just do like a mini map stream. You can just open on your second monitor. I would totally use that. That would be so.
Yeah, I
freaking
would totally use
useful.
it too. I mean,
I would 100% use that.
I mean,
But
go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, we've talked about observing
Yeah.
dozens of times on this show.
Exactly.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. What I really want to do is put my money where my mouth is and finally make that video that I've been talking about forever about my thoughts about observing. It's getting better and things are being added and layered on. I still think that we're not seeing enough free cam. I really, really do. In between team fights, I want to see where defense is setting up. I want to see how the attacking team is coming in. I want you to zoom in with the attacking team as they're moving forward and then like snap onto the Genji, then snap onto the Tracer. I want to see that.
Yeah, I definitely.
Almost every time there's a team fight, like there's a break
totally
between
agree.
fights, I want to see that. Like I've said it before, I literally think we could be seeing like 10 times more free cam than we're seeing right now.
So I mean,
not everyone agrees with me, but
well, I totally agree. I think we all here at least agree with you.
There's a lot of factors that go into observing. You can't always do it, but I know observing wise, when I used to do homegrown observe, etc., I definitely grew into the style of free cam before fight and then first person in fight. And I think that's the right balance to do. We've seen everything in Overwatch, right? We've seen nothing but free cam, which isn't good. We've seen nothing but first person, which isn't great, but better than all free cam. And then we saw like the reverse, which I was really not a fan of, where you had free cam in fight, first person not in fight, which is sort of like,
which that's just kind of weird. Yeah.
But I mean, I think eventually we'll get to a good balance, and the observing team has improved considerably week after week, and there's no reason to think that they won't continue to improve and put on a great product.
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I don't want to jump too much in. The only thing I'll say about it is that I'd like to see a little bit of third person, or at least off of first person point of view whenever Genji ults. I think that was probably the most jarring thing out of all the entire observing for all of day one, and even today. So if you can just take it off it, I think it would just be very, very, very much easier on the eyes, and people that are watching for the first time won't be like completely shocked, of what they're seeing, or understand even what they're seeing.
This is one area where I will disagree, and there's a primary reason, but also just a general reason, is that I don't like the Genji third-person cam. I have always hated the Genji third-person cam, and a big reason for it is that when a Genji is going for Dragon Blade, it's not just him slicing around. There's also the entire part where it's the time where people are going to be trying their best to shut down the Genji, which means that if you're not watching from the Genji's point of view, you're not going to see how a good reflect would happen in that point of view. There's so many times where you're in the point of view of a Dragon Blade Genji, and if you're watching from first person, you get a much better view of reflected flashbangs or reflected helix rockets and other things that could shut him down. The third person view, you might get a better view of the slashes, but I feel like it takes away from some of the intensity of the Genji. I understand the.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I would give that up for the camp literally just going like this the entire time. Like people can't watch that. Like they can't. Like not people that don't play the game particularly. I mean, we can watch it because we know what's going on, and we've done it before. We've played Genji before, and we've done all that craziness. But that's just not good tech. I mean, that's not good. Like just generally for people to have to watch something like that. So, anyways, we can argue about it all we want, like off air. But let's get into the matches. That's what everybody wants to hear. Just like what we think about this day one matches, and we'll get in obviously to the matches today too. So, kick things off with the Valiant against the Shock, which I think was a rematch from preseason, right? And in preseason, we saw the Valiant end up. It was a really close match, but Valiant ended up taking it. A lot of it, I think a lot of people put on the Shock having played a previous match, right before that, so maybe some fatigue. But this time around, the Valiant were pretty dominant. They had agilities definitely in the lineup this time around, and I don't know, we just saw a much cleaner Valiant, and I don't know if I think the Shock probably played a little bit worse too. I mean, particularly Sleepy. I think Sleepy played a lot worse.
Yeah. Not just Sleepy. Dante was underwhelming. Nomi was getting outclassed, and the entire strategy of protecting Baby Bay only goes so far. I mean, that they were so dependent on protecting the McCree in some of the rounds that they played that even when they did get an advantage, they weren't really positioned to aggressively dive in and finish fights. They let the Valiant back into fights that they probably shouldn't have been back into. But across the board, I mean, I would just note this. I remember looking at Dorado and seeing agilities with almost 3 times the ult charge of Dante after the first fight. The degree to which agilities was outplaying Dante when they were both on Genji was stupid. And the degree that which you saw Nomi getting outplayed on tanks, stupid. Like, this is a case where sometimes the teams you go, well, it came down to coordination, etc. This matchup came down to Shock just getting outskilled to key positions across the board.
Well, Soon too. Soon was just playing everything that Soon played was amazing and just outplaying his counterpart. So, yeah, Ben, any thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I think one of the big stories for me, from what I could tell, was that when Sleepy was getting dove and not protected and dying, Shock was losing every one of those fights. I just didn't feel like they were doing enough to keep Sleepy in the game. Of course, San Francisco, it's my city. I'll stand up for them and say, wait until March, because Sinatra and Super both turn 18 around then. Obviously, Super is a really, really talented main tank player, which I think is one of the biggest weaknesses. And of course, everyone knows what Sinatra can do on the Tracer. But I think you're also right that particularly in like specific matchups, they have all these amazing hit scan players, but I'm not sure that they have the one Genji or one Pharah player that's going to be able to compete with projectile specialists across the board here.
Well, they also just made very strange decisions that it wasn't a good coaching performance, to say the least. When you do just silly things like running a McCree on second point Nambani into a 76, when you have Baby Bay, who's very capable of running a good 76, it's questionable as hell. You cannot be making these play calls when you're just clearly playing into a hero disadvantage. Now, maybe on the Bonnie, that was a point where San Francisco just said, okay, you know what, let's get out of here. We've lost the series. It doesn't matter anymore. Who knows what they're at, but it just felt like they weren't making intelligent swap ups throughout the entire series. But Nambani was just the really worst example of that, where not only were they playing bad compositions, but they also weren't paying attention to threats. I mean, Silk Thread had all the time in the world and then some on that map. You just look at that and goes, wait, why is this happening? And it shouldn't have been happening. San Francisco was just, they weren't playing appropriate compositions for the positions they found them in. They, even when they were playing decent compositions, they weren't target selecting in a way that made any sort of sense. And these problems just got worse overall. And credit where credit's due. Valiant played great.
Oh, they played great. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
Soon Agility,
so
Silk, they all look good.
Valiant here, but Shock looked like a wounded animal for a lot of that series.
Yeah. So, we'll definitely, I think we see them. Do we see them tomorrow? We're definitely going to see them again one other time this week. Everybody plays twice. So we'll see how the Shock recover from that kind of opening game here. The next one that we have here is the other LA team. We've got the Gladiators versus the Shanghai Dragons. And another dominant performance by the LA team. The Gladiators winning 4-0 against Shanghai. I mean, Shanghai looks the same, like to me, like as they did in preseason for the most part. Like, still looking a tiny bit lost on some of the maps. And I mean, the Gladiators look clean. I mean, it's hard to really judge the Gladiators because I don't think I don't know. Like, I didn't really, nothing really stood out to me, but it wasn't that they played bad or anything. I mean, I just don't think the Shanghai Dragons even pushed them at all. So I don't know what you guys took from it.
I mean, what I took from it is at least I feel safe with Shanghai because they don't beat anyone. That's where we're at right now.
Oh my god! Oh,
like, I'm sorry, like Shanghai, they're not playing at an OWL level to the degree that every other team is playing. Like even the other teams that we call out for struggling, Shanghai is not even playing on that level right now. So
you're just saying they're bad right now. That's what you're basically saying. Yes. Okay.
All I gotta say about Shanghai is I really, really hope that they can pick up some of those MY guys in the
They should have been on the team in the first place. Like I don't.
Everyone knows it.
This is
the
like...
MY. If you don't remember or you somehow missed this before, what was it? About 2 months ago? Maybe 2.5 months ago. Miraculous Youngsters actually took Lunatic High to the very brink in a best of 5. It was 2-2, and they were just so close to beating them on the Horizon Lunar Colony. Like, why is MY not this Shanghai team? Like, God, why?
Nobody is on there. Which is crazy. Like, it's So, anyways, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my general prediction of Shanghai is that I still think Shanghai is the most likely candidate for the mid-season resurrection, where they have 4 roster spots left available. There is a whole lot of talent in the Chinese region to pick up. I think that of any of the teams in Overwatch League that might have a bad start, they are the most likely to recover from it. And I mean, you look at how they've begun here, you have nowhere to go but up now. So improvement has to be on the menu.
Yeah. So the Gladiators, I mean, they played solid. I mean, there's nothing really to say, not much to say about them because, again, it was hard to judge even how well they're playing or if they aren't playing well. So, definitely a good win for them, or at least a free win for them, maybe in week 1, but it's good to get it. All right, the next match, the third one, was basically the highlight of the entire night. I was kind of surprised they didn't lead off with this, to be honest, but in the end, I think it was, I could understand the decision just because everybody came back, I think, for this Seoul Dynasty versus Dallas Fuel matchup here. And, I mean, this matchup pretty much lived up to the expectations. I mean, I think Dallas got off to a quick start, which I think everybody was hoping that would happen. And then, if they could pull off the upset by just, Seoul, I think still being, a little bit off balance, for more than just one game, then maybe they could, take the series. But really, really close. Dallas took that first game and almost took the second game. And, obviously ended up losing 2, I think it was 2-1 Seoul, and then they tied 1. So it was super close match. And, it was good to showcase, I think, this level of play on day 1 of the Overwatch League.
And level of parity as well. When you take a look at where you have this case where I think fans of really good play certainly wouldn't have minded if this was the case, but there were fears of the idea that the all Korean teams would come in and sort of dominate the league. And so far, that doesn't look like that's going to be the case. They can bleed. They still might be number one, but it's going to be close across the board, is what it feels like so far. And I mean, hey, Seoul versus Dallas, this is effectively shaping up to be potentially the Warriors versus Cavaliers of Overwatch.
It's a rivalry,
especially if you consider prior history that these teams have had against each other in tournaments like Apex, the core that remains on both sides. So look, if we can get legendary matches like this on, even just once every 3 weeks, I will be very happy.
Yeah. I was thinking about biting my tongue on this for a little while, but then I decided to just tweet out my full thoughts on it. The level of play in the Seoul Dallas match was just different. It was just on a different level than the other matches we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I mean,
it was. I like literally think that match was 10 times more entertaining than the other matches. Every second of that match was like nail biting. I mean, some of those hooks that Taimu was hitting as Roadhog on Junkertown had me losing my mind. He had just these insane predictive hooks over and over again. The Widow play, Siegel even popped off with Hanzo here and there, which was just
that was awesome. The Hanzo was amazing.
Doing Fleta things like it was so fun to watch. It was every moment was exciting.
Well, we saw adjustments being made too, like between matches, in matches, and I mean, I think Dallas might have done a little too much of it towards the end, but I think they were kind of reeling a little bit at the end. It was like one of those things where they came out with like really, really strong, and then Seoul just kind of like flipped it on them a little bit.
I don't mind that though, because this is I mentioned on another podcast earlier in the week, but look, if you're going to be experimenting as a team with doing more roster shuffles, doing more hero shuffles, now's when you do it. You do it early on in the season. Maybe you don't do it against your vaunted rival here, but even still, you have the flexibility to mess around and really see what you could get away with as a team in a real live match situation. Now, you don't have that flexibility when you're in a tough playoff race 3 weeks down the line, or well, not 3 weeks, but it's deeper into the season, certainly, when you start getting into split number 3, and suddenly you realize, oh God, we have a lot of must-win games if we want to have a proper seed, potentially get a bye, so on and so forth. So now's the time as a team to experiment, because you can do so without being under pressure. So I don't really mind teams over mixing it up, as it were. I think it's totally fine.
we got a chance to see Effect like really go off on Widow too, which was like, oh my God, if he can go off on Widow and on Tracer, and I mean, it's kind of crazy. So we saw, we saw a mixture of a lot of different heroes on that team, and I think that's the future of Overwatch. That sort of thing, or future of Overwatch League, is to have teams that are like that. I do think that Seoul just fundamental baseline, is just more talented, than them, and Dallas does have to mix this up to just go straight head to head with them. But it's really entertaining to just kind of see both of them colliding. The different styles kind of colliding, and just watching Seoul have to like adapt to it. That was really, really entertaining too. Like it took them a couple matches to kind of, or a couple maps to figure it out, or at least figure out like what was going to work for them. And then once it did, it was just like really, really tough for Dallas to keep up with that. But it's cool. This is the type of storylines we want to talk about, what the casters want to talk about, the desk wants to talk about. And, like you said, Ben, it was much more interesting than the others that we saw. I mean, they were all 4-0s too, so it's not saying too much that it was way more interesting. But even from the standpoint of what Overwatch is supposed to look like, that was close to what it should look like.
What I'm looking forward to is the day that every caster both lives for and dreads, in a sense, where you get the 3-match day where everything goes to 5 and is incredibly long with extended overtimes, etc. across the board. I want the anti-4 Overwatch day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I think I read on I think I saw on Reddit that every character but Symmetra was played in that one 4-map series.
Wait, Torb was played? When was Torb played?
Character. So I saw a Reddit thread that said that. I don't remember.
I don't remember Torb being.
Wait, they played Numbani, probably on Numbani.
Was it? Okay,
I don't remember.
Okay,
anyway,
cool.
But like we saw interesting things like that will probably become the new norm. Like playing Reaper on Junkertown. Hadn't really seen that before. Both teams did it. I love the fact that Dallas was able, like, they were able to switch up their comp, and like people who you thought should be playing one character weren't. They pulled out Widowmaker, but it was Effect playing Widowmaker, not Taimu.
Right.
There were points where Seagull's on Junkrat, and then a Taimu's playing Roadhog, and then the next map you have Mickey playing Roadhog, and like
Yeah,
just
Chips even
flexible
switched to
teams.
like a weird, like some things at points too. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, and then of course, this is not weird anymore, but like you have Harry Hook flexing on the soldier. Like
mhm.
this team is just so flexible.
But does it
the
need to be
common
flexible?
criticism
See,
of
that's the
trying
thing.
to go up against Fuel from many teams just the part that because they're somewhat unconventional in their swaps how they play, they are a harder team to prepare for
Mhm.
as compared to say a Florida Mayhem where you're just like, well, 6 players, same style for the most part, most games that we can
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was definitely exciting. I think it was the highlight, and it was cool to see the viewership kind of spike in the beginning, kind of lull a little bit, and then spike again. So late at night. I mean, that was like at 11 p.m. or Eastern, which was for Eastern in the Europeans. It's definitely extremely hard to watch that, but people clearly stayed up and watched it. So day one, that concluded day one. I think it was a smashing success, and then we went into day two today, and we saw London and Florida for the first time going against each other, and a lot of people have been hard on Florida, but they took that first game against London, and I think that Florida, it was kind of what I was expecting too. I think Florida is better than a lot of people think, even just with a 6-man roster. And with Spitfire too, like we didn't see them change their roster too much. Like they just played with the same 6, I think, the entire time, unless not remembering correctly. But they didn't sub in too many people. So what do you guys think about London this time around? Because there was mixed reactions given that they lost in the Gladiator in preseason, and they were still trying to figure out two teams basically melding within themselves.
Well, I think they're still figuring stuff out clearly. It's a case where it's always going to be an interesting project merging 2 rosters together. They were able to take a win that most people expected that they would win, albeit Florida definitely looked rejuvenated. I don't know. We'll see. Florida's still got to find an extra gear because even though they played above expectations, even though London at times was shaky, it's still, end of the day, it's a 3-1 in favor of London.
Yeah. Hard to tell if this is a case of. I mean, Florida definitely played above what people are expecting. People are still putting them. A lot of people power rankings have them at 11, just above Shanghai.
Yeah.
So they definitely played above that. But the question is London still playing below where they should be? In theory, they should be the best team in the league. GC Busan, the entirety of GC Busan is on London Spitfire. GC Busan won the last season of Apex, beating Lunatic High. Not to mention they have guys like Birdring from KDP.
KDP, yep.
So in theory, they should be the best team, right? So it kind of feels like both Florida overperformed above people's expectations, and then also London continues to potentially underperform.
Look at it this way, Ben. If they're not the best team, then Jack's going to own the entirety of Overwatch League before the season is over. So, you know what?
Keep hiring more people.
Yes.
I mean, Prophet and Birding played great. So, I mean, I don't know if they played that much worse. I mean, Fisher didn't play, but they had Jester in. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't think Spitfire played way under what they could play. I mean, those guys played great during that series. So, it might be a case they're underplaying a bit, but it's not as bad as the preseason. They were playing way under what they should have been playing in preseason. So, they'll get a test, I think, later on this week against the Fusion, which we're about to talk about. The Fusion is like the team, I think, that surprised a lot of people. They went up against Houston. Nobody knew what to expect from the Fusion, but I think most people picked Houston to win this matchup. Well, Philadelphia came out super.
Basically everyone.
Yeah, basically everybody. And I'm not sure it even had so much to do with not even knowing what the Fusion had. It was more just like Houston just looked good, even the 2 losses they had in preseason. So,
Houston is now like in the weird spot as a team that you never really want to be in. Of they're playing everyone really close, but they're having trouble picking up wins. If you take a look at what happened in the preseason now here, obviously preseason was more exhibition in terms of how it was handled, but it's still a bit of a disconcerting sign. But the reality is that Philly played a lot better than anyone was expecting, and particularly given the fact that they had to overcome issues like everyone getting there late, the part where there's still most certainly communication issues with the team because of just the different languages that everyone speaks. There was a lot of very good reasons to underrate Philly coming in here, despite the fact that they have plenty of individual talent, but the individual talent that they do have very much shined. And one thing I'll have to say here, because it's been a very up and down roller coaster for me, where I was one of the people immediately on Team Shadowburn way back in 2016 when he was making his coming out party, doing incredibly well, just on the rise as a Genji. And I was also one of the people that was one of his detractors when it felt like he wasn't grinding as much and sort of lost his aura of invincibility, despite the fact that sure there were meta changes that hurt Genji. You still had the case where Shadowburn didn't seem to be quite as effective, and now it feels like he's gotten back on the grind again, because he's becoming more like the Shadowburn of mid 2016 than the Shadowburn that sort of had issues throughout 2017, and that's exciting to watch if you're a Genji fan.
As I was watching that game unfold, it just started kind of clicking in my head that Philly, my take on Philly is that this meta suits them very well, and that they have role players who suit this meta just almost to a T. I mean, when you think of top Zenyatas, you think of Boombox, right?
Yeah.
When you think of amazing main tanks, Fraggy is way up there on the list. When you think of Tracer and Hitscan, Carpe is like way up there. Genji, nobody's better than Shadowburn. So if they're playing this particular meta, they have basically everything it takes to be one of the best teams in the league. I think if you look at a Houston, they could do anything. They could switch in different players, switch and do different styles. I feel like they're a much more flexible team, but right now Philly is actually scary. I think like people are sleeping on them. I could see them finishing in the top. Like I definitely see them going to playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, just all around, like they have role players. They have the right role players right now. It makes you think maybe they have someone really smart in the GM role who is able to hand select this team for this specific reason.
Yeah, I mean, just getting kind of back to Shadowburn. I mean, it was like right from the get-go in game one, it was just, you just felt Shadowburn imposing his will just on the back line. I mean, he making smart decisions, just being aggressive. And one thing about Shadowburn today too is like he knew when to actually step off the gas a few times. I actually noticed that. Like there would be moments sometimes when you see Shadowburn go a little too deep. Still kind of going off on his own for the most part, and his team kind of like playing around it. But still, like I felt like he was making huge impacts. Carpe was solid as can be. Fraggy was probably MVP of that series.
Oh yeah, Fraggy played amazing.
That Winston, in the overtime, that where he was hiding behind the back of the the temple area there. On that last map, and it was able to delay long enough for like Shadowburn and everybody to get back to retake that point. Oh my god, that was so good. That was like crazy awesome play by Fraggy there. And he just did that basically the entire series. So he's underrated too, even though a lot of people know Fraggy from previous teams. Still, I think a lot of people don't. And yeah, this team looks really good. I think Houston didn't look right tonight. Like a lot of their players that have stepped it up, or at least in preseason, even World Cup, just didn't look the same tonight. So I think they just had a bad night too. Not to say that the Fusion didn't force that. I think the Fusion's play did have a lot to do with it too. But we didn't see that Houston team that could rise to the occasion on a lot of these moments. So it had a lot to do with control maps too. Control maps, they just are not good on control maps.
I also think it was a pretty bad night for supports overall. More so on the Houston side. Raucus clearly had a rough night. I mean, look, what happened on the end of King of the Hill sort of like sums up the entirety of the night, where you're under pressure, and I'm just sitting here mock casting for practice going in. It's like, well, look, now you have a case where all they want to do here is pressure Raucus, use Transcendence early, make this easier. It's really hard to get a pick off on a Zen in the situation. And as I'm saying the words, he gets picked off, and I just go there. How are you letting this happen? How can you get picked off when you are in the final fight and you have to use Transcendence here? I mean, I get it. You're riding the line, but you rode the line in such a degree that.
I thought he used Transcendence early in that.
No, the final fight he got
Did he
got
have
picked
it?
off.
Okay, I didn't realize I didn't realize he had it actually when he got picked off.
Yeah,
Okay.
he had it. He got
Okay.
picked off while he had it, and then that's why you
Oh, I
saw him
see.
like transcending in at the very end because it's like,
Mm.
well, I guess I do the delay now.
Oh, right,
But
right. Okay, yeah.
yeah, but even on the Philly side, yeah, people will link the part where Neptuno like kills 3 people running around as Versi, but
I mean,
Neptuno
that
was
was
also
sure, yeah.
he was getting picked early in a lot of fights. It was a sloppy series for main support play.
Yeah, well, so support play too, but also like defensive support too. I think that the diva play was not as high level as I'm used to. You know, like I have to say from Matt like tonight, and that had a lot to do with Rockets too, like dying in some cases. So I don't know. I just think that overall, yeah, support could have played better, and that goes for a lot of these series that we talked about even yesterday. But still, like they can play better. And like you said, Houston needs to learn how to win. Like I think it's actually a very valid issue right now. Like it plays a role in your confidence, you know, if you don't win. And you know, getting some of these kind of easier wins, you know, like the Gladiator got on Shanghai tonight, that it doesn't seem like it's valuable at all, but it does. It keeps your confidence up. And so, you know, Houston's next match is against New York. I mean, they literally get no you know, freebies anywhere. So like, are they going to beat New York? I'd probably say that the Houston team that played tonight definitely will not beat New York. And I was thinking that they would actually push New York. So anyways, yeah, Houston, you know, no need to panic or anything, but still, like, they should be playing better than they are right now.
There's enough talent on the roster that they could definitely turn things around. Although I
Yeah.
do think that right now, I would say that they're due for a fairly rough week when Junkrat gets nerfed. Jake has been playing incredible on Junkrat as he stands right now, but that's not going to be the case soon because a lot of his mileage of Junkrat comes from long range kills. And frankly, you're not going to be seeing a whole lot of those if the patch changes go in. So I do think Outlaws is probably going to have a rough week the week that happens because you're going to have to deal with Jake sort of transitioning, going I can't play Junkrat 70% of the time. And
I mean, what do you think about their issues on control maps? Like, they are definitely worse on control maps. Like, when I see them play like Lunar Colony, it's like very clean, very clear plan, very clear, great, crisp execution. But then I see them on these control maps, and they lose like first battle like almost every single time. And you know, they're just against the wall like nonstop on these maps, and they clearly lost these control maps in this series too. So. Is this a trend that I think this team has where they just are not good on those maps?
well, so far, evidence indicates that it is. I mean, it's sometimes it is just a team having a bit of a slump on it. It's hard to say if there's something deeper causing it, but I mean, I'd say the main thing that really strikes out is that they have difficulty getting first pickoffs in the control maps right now, where they're a team that is historically clutched on heavy tank play to sort of dominate control and otherwise, but somehow that's not really translating into early picks. And not only that, but they've been particularly bad at cleaning out points after they're winning a fight. There were so many times against Philly where they would be winning the fight and have 3-4 people on with one person left, and then they would let a tank roll in and delay for just enough, not focus the tank adequately, leave enough time for someone else to come in, and then, you know, best case scenario, taking the point after losing another 30%, or worst case scenario, not taking the point at all. So I think cleaning up a fight after getting the hard part done when they do get the early pickoffs is something that they're definitely gonna have to work on.
All right, well, let's move on to the last match that we had that happened not too long ago. We had the New York Excelsior against the Boston Uprising. New York ended up taking it 3-1, which, you know, isn't really a big surprise. But, you know, I think the thing I was most curious about was to see if the Boston team, you know, would continue looking like the team that we saw in preseason, which was a surprising, you know, like I think Stryker and some of those guys actually surprised me. And so, and Dreamcast too. So, you know, I think we got to look at that. I think those guys actually are. I think they're still playing quite well. It's just, you know, New York, I think, is one of the top teams in the league. And, you know, watching those mono combos where they would use the Orisa, you know, the gravity thing, and then they would hook from there. Oh, man, I love seeing those combos. It's definitely so great. But anyways, what do you guys think pull from this series? Anything in particular?
Boston is continuing to sort of pull the we're playing people closer than expected, but still losing card. I guess it's similar to Houston, but it's not as close. It feels like there's plenty of points where you go, wow, Boston can really compete, and then the dust settles and you go, oh.
And then Pine happened.
Yeah, I mean, Pine.
I mean, obviously,
just...
Sabiolby was also playing out of his mind on Tracer a lot of the time, but
that's normal at this point.
Changed things.
The thing is, and this is something I've said for a while, and not every McCree has the ability to do it, but someone playing McCree really well in the way that Pine was can shut down your Tracer play really heavily. And, Sabiolby has been good enough to sort of avoid that happening. And this time around, what's it called? I'm losing my mind. Go ahead. I actually just completely lost my train of thought. I've been up for a while, but it's not entirely.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, I'm still impressed with Boston overall. I agree with you.
Better
for the
than
most
I
part,
thought.
Chris.
Yeah, I mean,
Dream Casper looks really good. They definitely, it shows that they have good synergy as a team. But it's just tough when you're competing against Koreans, man. The Koreans are good at esports.
It's like it's kind of like what we said a little bit earlier. It was just, I think it was with the Valiant and the Shock, right? Just kind of player to player. I mean, they're just better. Like, like even just from a standpoint of talent and skill at this point, they just kind of outplay them from that standpoint. Boston still got a game off of them, which is, really cool. And I think it was on Junkertown, right, that they took it. Junkertown for me just seems like some teams look like they practice it. Some teams don't look like they practice it very much. And I think it kind of shows right now whenever you actually see that, see these matches, because even the good teams, some of the good teams don't look very clean on that map. And that's kind of like where they give up that one game, and so it's kind of funny to see, I don't know. I kind of wish that map wasn't even in the bowl, but I don't know. Do you guys have a better appreciation for that map now? Or do you guys still?
So I think from a player point of view, I think the players have to be incredibly annoyed with the map as it is right now, because it's so different from the norm.
Yeah.
But from a spectator point of view, I think it's pretty entertaining where it is right now, because you do get, for better or for worse, you get a distinctly different brand of Overwatch in Junkertown. And it does create sort of the ability for a team to eventually, develop a niche on there to a degree where, look, this map is won by different means. If you actually spend the time practicing it versus other teams, you can get a pretty big edge, even though they'll come at the cost of more traditional practice for how other maps are played. So face value, I don't really mind how Junkertown is going down right now, even if it is a lot of pirate shipping. I do find the entire dynamic between how long do you stick with the pirate ship, what happens if you try and run it and then you can't get back on, or the reward if you stick with it and you're actually able to reestablish after getting knocked out. I do think these are interesting setups as it stands.
It's a really funny dichotomy that seems to be present among the community, myself for sure, in that I don't like playing Junkertown.
Yeah.
And similarly, I don't really enjoy 2CP as much as other maps, but watching these are the maps that we're actually seeing the most interesting strategies get brought out, the most unique team comps. It's happening on maps like Lunar Colony. It's happening on maps like Junkertown. So I don't know. I'm actually curious. I haven't talked to any players, any of the top players about Junkertown recently. I'd be curious to get their perspective on it, but it's like fun to watch and less fun to play for some reason.
I mean, we get some widow on widow action too on that map, so that's obviously a very, very fun thing to watch too, spectator wise. But yeah, so overall, I think that the end of today was, it's not one of those days where I feel like we had a Dallas Seoul type of hype matchup, but the Philly Houston one I think ended up kind of taking that role. So day 2, I think the numbers are still pretty good, and I think day 3. What are we looking at for day 3 here? What's the maybe the big one? I don't know. So we don't have a crazy kind of rival matchup here. We got Dallas versus Valiant. That should play out pretty well.
Decent.
I think that'll be a good match actually.
The big one for me is Mayhem Boston, as far as that goes. Where
really,
I think that's
okay.
Well, that's sort of the make it or break it moment for Boston, right? Where I would say that there's been a decent amount of hype around Boston, and they haven't really been able to live up to it. As odd as that is, given the ups and downs of Boston, they have been getting like hyped up as like, no, they're a lot better, etc. But they haven't been able to prove it yet. They won't have a better chance to prove it than against Mayhem. if they lose against Mayhem, the quote Denny Green, you kind of go to a situation where they are who we thought they were, and despite looking promising at points, it's not a good omen for Boston if they lose to Florida.
Well, one of those teams will be what we think they are, like whoever I guess loses that.
One of them is not going to be let off the hook.
I think you're right, ZP. This is potentially the day of like who's the fraud, who's for real, because Shock versus Shanghai Dragons is also going to be kind of nerve-wracking for the Shock team, who basically got dominated by Valiant yesterday. If Shock actually went down to Shanghai right now, that would be really bad for morale. So I don't expect that to happen, but I think that's my match to watch.
Here's the thing for Shanghai. I think there's a very clear blueprint to beating the Shock right now, is that you disproportionately focus on Baby Bay, who has been doing most of their work, and you go, all right, Dante, we're going to put it on you to actually beat us. And I don't know if that's going to be the case, because the Shock front line has been rough. I mean, look, obviously Shanghai has also been very rough in turn, but I feel like the keys to beating Shock are relatively simple right now from what we've seen from them. So there is, depending on Shanghai's ability to make adjustments, depending on how much they're dissecting Shock's gameplay, I do think there's a world where the Shock loses to the Dragons, believe it or not.
I guess, yeah. I mean, from what I've seen from Shanghai so far, I think Baby Bay could even just like carry, even with them trying to focus on him. So
very good, even though the rest of the team
he is good.
So,
in preseason, he was better, though. But yeah,
I don't think there's a gigantic gulf between Dia and Baby Bay right now. So I think you sort of have the supporting staffs for both teams have been rough. The question is who's going to come out on top here. And again, I don't think Shanghai winning this is as crazy as it might sound if you look at it on paper.
I don't think it's crazy, but I just definitely Shock are favored going into this. But speaking of the Mayhem, I'm going to be actually hosting a viewing party for the Mayhem over in Orlando tomorrow. So you guys around the Full Sail University area, definitely, or if you're a Full Sail student or a friend of a Full Sail student, just definitely look into coming and hanging out with us tomorrow, because it's going to be a good time for sure.
But and on that note, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. No. But I also want to call out the viewing parties from today that we saw. I posted the links in chat earlier, but oh my God, this might be one of the most encouraging things. Besides, of course, the 440,000 concurrent viewers, but this might be one of the most encouraging things I saw from the last 2 days, was the fact that the Outlaws had over 600 people come to their viewing party. That is damn near the size of the entire Blizzard Arena. They basically had another Blizzard Arena in Houston watching the match. And then the pictures of the Boston, they're playing it at a bar in Boston, and it looked like it had to be several hundred people there as well.
Yeah.
There's probably 3 times as many people watching at viewing parties in these cities than as there are even at the arena. That's pretty.
Let's get bar, whatever we call it, bar watches going.
I'm gonna call it
bar watches. Let's go. So. We totally need to get that going. And, one of the things I'm doing, just organizing this one, is it has a lot to do with just, somebody, just Blizzard, throwing that out there, just basically seeing if I would organize it. So I know Blizzard has that kind of possible initiative too, so I think all of these viewing parties are just helping whatever that initiative will end up being. So it's going to be, like you said, Ben, I think it's really encouraging, really awesome to see the locals, kind of getting going, because that just means whenever we finally do get to our cities, there's going to be these people already ready to go and buy tickets and watch, the matches. So
it's so important.
Definitely good. Saturday, day 4. I think that's the big day. I think there's a lot of cool matchups during day 4. We got, London's and Philly playing each other. I think that potentially could be very, very interesting given what we saw today. New York, Houston, again, I think that
a lot of good matches here.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Saturday is going to be, the times are going to be much more friendly, I think, for others around the world. So, I think that might play for even more. Maybe we'll see more than opening day. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too.
I don't think opening day will be topped until we start hitting some big milestones as far as it goes. I mean, it's opening day.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there is a possibility of more organic growth as time goes on, but I think the way these things usually go is that you have something new. You have the huge opening, you have a dip for a while, and then you start heading your steady growth phase, and then your huge explosion when you get to a finals or playoffs, etc. So I think if you look at it right now, we start at a peak. There's going to be a drop for a little while, and then there's going to be a steady climb, ideally, and then hopefully when we get into finals several months down the line, we have if it cracked 1 million, that would be incredible.
Yeah, that definitely. I still think Saturday will be the second biggest day. I mean, those matches should be really good. Like we'll actually have 3 potentially very solid competitive matches, and that could be, maybe I don't know if the Gladiators one will necessarily be or not, but I just think that for that day, I think we have the most intriguing type of matches with the names too, kind of name power. If Dallas was playing that day too, I think it would be like a solid, almost like a lock to be the second biggest day. But anyways, yeah, definitely check it out, guys. It starts at 2 on Saturday. This is 2 Eastern, I believe, right? And yeah, just hang out by your whatever TV or your computer or wherever you're gonna watch it. It'd be definitely a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get into some Q&A. We've got like one question that somebody emailed to us. Actually, I gotta find his name. But in the meantime, I'll find his name in a second. But he asks, hey guys, what do you guys think of the Overwatch League doing some type of all-star match like they do in the NBA? The players obviously wouldn't be accustomed to playing with each other, but I think it would be cool. What do you guys think?
I think they already have that planned, don't they?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, LCS does
they already
that
have
kind of thing already. So
pretty sure I've seen info about an all-star weekend somewhere, so that...
This is the part where I don't remember what's public and what's been told to me.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
All-star match would be
Be
great.
careful. Yeah. Yeah, I think an all-star match would be great. I think having it mid-season would be really, really cool too. Kind of like they do in NBA. Definitely not like the Pro Bowl. That's like at the end of the season. That's kind of like pointless. So yeah, I think that'd be awesome. They don't need to have played with each other. It's the all-star match is like a total exhibition and just fun anyways, right? So it'd be cool to do. I wonder what the format would be for an all-star game. Like,
so there is an all-star week, for the record, is on the schedule of the Overwatch League webpage.
Okay.
Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3, Stage 4, playoffs, grand finals, all-star weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
Like 99%.
Wait. So. It is at the end of the season.
Yes.
Oh God. All right.
I feel like the middle would make more sense.
Yeah, I do too.
I agree. There's a good reason for it, so you don't suffer what is essentially Pro Bowl syndrome. Even though the Pro Bowl technically is at the end, it's like close enough.
Well, I mean, we're going to get into this like regular season, a little bit of a lull, right? Just because it's the same thing like over and over and each week to week kind of thing. So you can throw in like an exhibition in there that just kind of gets things, a little riled up again, which is kind of cool. Okay, it's at the end of the season. Yeah, totally Pro Bowl syndrome. We'll see what happens there. It still should be fun regardless. All right. Well, I mean, that's
Chris, maybe the Genji 1v1 tournament will.
Okay, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be pretty fun. The Genji thing. At least we're having it work. I hope it's not just like, hey, it's the best of 7 series, guys. Like, it better be something better than that. If it's going to be like an all-star thing.
If you wanted some degree of inspiration there, and I don't know if this would be the case, but the Heroes Rumble in Taipei had a lot of like quirky, fun things that they put the players into, and something like that would be really entertaining. Like you can't do that sort of stuff every week for sure, but for an all-star weekend on its own, putting players in a situation to go, all right, go 6 Torbs v 6 Torbs or whatever. Stuff like that would actually be very entertaining.
You know what would be dope, ZP? Would be a throwback tournament. Just do it like a pickup style. Just have all the players in pools, pick 12 captains, then have pickup teams, and then have them play in a Gosu Gamers Weekly-esque format where it's just like a big ass double elimination bracket, no hero limit. Let's go. And you can pick the maps just like Kings Row over and over again. Just like
that's off season, Ben. That's off season.
Yeah.
We totally do that off season.
I still miss map drafting. I understand why it wasn't chosen in the end, but map drafting was always entertaining.
Why wasn't it chosen? Yeah, why wasn't it chosen?
Kings Row every single series? Like, why not?
It wasn't always Kings Row. It depended on the team. Like, there's some teams that would specifically avoid that. Like, it did give that little extra layer of sort of, all right, this team really likes playing this. They really hate this. Even if there were points where you got Kings Row constantly, as far as early maps go, or whatever was in vogue. Remember Hollywood era. It was always kind of cool to see that particular meta.
So how are the maps going to work? Are they going to switch them up at some point, or
presumably it's just a set schedule that like swaps?
Okay,
from week to
okay.
week.
So we are going to see different ones from week to week. That's good. All right. Well, anyways, that's it for the questions. You got any questions? Definitely email those to the overview at chanmanv.tv. Just a quick reminder, guys, that we're actually available on any podcast apps or on iTunes or Google Play Store. You can just look up Overwatch or the Overview, and you'll definitely find us. And you can subscribe to us so that just you download it each week or whenever the feed gets updated. And if you like the show, definitely go and leave us a 5-star review, because it helps with the SEO and people finding this podcast whenever they're trying to find a great Overwatch podcast. But that's going to be it, guys. That's all we have for now. I think maybe one thing that we should talk about, which it was definitely on the agenda, is kind of the future, I guess, of the show. Because a lot of folks wondering definitely about what's going on, given that I stopped Overwatchers and been hearing some things too. So I think officially what the overview is, we're not going to be doing it weekly anymore, or and maybe we do it next week. I don't know, but definitely we're not going to be like holding ourselves to doing it weekly anymore. We'll do it whenever we have time. Like, one big thing is that my just kind of what I'm doing just generally in terms of, just work and career and I mean, still in the space, but I'm definitely changing things up, and we'll be, doing some different things, and it just doesn't allocate as much time each week to be able to do the show, in a consistent manner. So I think the three of us have agreed that, whenever we all three can, have a time, we'll just put it together and come up with some awesome show where we have an awesome guest and do it that way. Yeah, I mean, it's good with you guys, right? I mean, I know we've already talked about it, but I think it's generally something we all think is a good idea.
The key was here is that we wanted to tell you it was okay behind the scenes, just to put you on blast on air.
Yeah,
okay. I personally look forward to my time spending with you every week.
Actually, ZP and I are starting a new show.
Yeah, fuck yes.
It's called The Underview.
The Underview.
The tagline is now with 100% less
I don't think it looks
ChanManV.
as good. That's right. No, so yeah, definitely, keep us, if you're subscribed to obviously the feed and things like that, just stay subscribed, because, we definitely will be doing from time to time. I can't see myself just not doing something, about Overwatch. I'm just like freaking watching it all the time. So, keep on the lookout. Definitely there'll be some news, at least from my standpoint, that I'll be releasing soon, just as to what I'm doing. So keep a lookout on that. Follow the show on the overview, or we can do some shout outs first. Actually, I'm doing all this stuff, like ignoring y'all shout outs. So ZP, you want to do the shout out before we take off?
Something Twitter at Tempo ZP. I don't have the energy for shout outs right now, but we'll see.
Okay. Then
the promised time is finally here, my children.
Yeah, yes.
We have ascended to esports godliness. No, seriously, like, this is I can't even believe how strong the viewership has been, how engaged the fans already are. This is a really, really exciting time to be involved in Overwatch, but it's also just an exciting time for esports in general. So I'm reinvigorated, I'm reenthused, and you guys should be too. It's just awesome to be involved in this. Being at the event yesterday was sick. So make sure you guys stay tuned. The show's not dead forever, guys. We'll pop in and do some episodes. We'll bring in some guests in the future. So it's not rip overview, but just kind of lowering the cadence a little bit and just doing a little bit more ad hoc. But yeah, we've been waiting for 2 years.
Yeah. And kudos to Blizzard. Here. You know what I mean?
We're finally here.
How many times did we hear over the last year or two that Blizzard can't do esports, right? So, we're obviously, there's still a long ways to go, but this is day one of it. And, I think a lot of people weren't even sure we're going to get to day one. So, a lot of people, that Overwatch League team is huge at this point. They're definitely working hard and definitely deserve kudos for this first week. It's been amazing so far, and can't wait for the next 2 days. Anyways, that's going to be it. You can follow me on at ChanManV, just on Twitter. You can find the VODs as usual, youtube.com/ChanManV. And that's going to be it, guys. So for ZP, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time.